through Investacall, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Singer Wealth Advisors, Singer Wealth Management, and Singer Wealth Advisors are not affiliated with Investacall. The opinions and recommendations contained in this broadcast are those of Keith Singer and Singer Wealth Management and not of Investacall. Past performance is not a guarantee of future performance. Upon liquidation, your investment may be worth more or less than its original cost. The investments discussed may be suitable for only some investors.
This is Prosper with Keith Singer. Every day, Keith brings you innovative strategies and world-class investment products to help you secure your financial future. Mr. Singer has appeared on CNBC's Closing Bell. He's been quoted as a financial expert in the Wall Street Journal, U.S. News and World Report, Business Week, Money Magazine, Financial Advisor Magazine, Investment Advisor Magazine, and Kiplinger's. Keith has been helping clients make smart financial choices for over 20 years through his comprehensive wealth management firm, Singer Wealth Management. For the solution to your financial problems, call toll-free 1-866-WEALTHY. That's 1-866-WEALTHY. And now, today's edition of Prosper with Keith Singer.
Hi, this is Keith Singer, attorney, certified financial planner, owner of Singer Wealth Management, serving Ocala, the villages, and surrounding areas. Hopefully you will learn something that can help you prosper financially. That's why we call our show Prosper. How are you, Darren?
Fantastic, Keith. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Let's talk a little bit about risk versus reward, shall we?
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Each investment that you could potentially make has a certain level of risk and a certain level of expected reward. Let me ask you this. What portfolio is more desirable? One with an expected return of 10% and a maximum potential loss of 10%, or a portfolio with an expected return of 10% and a maximum potential loss of 20%?
Easily. Clearly, it's the portfolio with an expected return of 10% and a maximum potential loss of only 10%.
So that makes sense, right? We want to get the most return for the least risk. What about a portfolio with an expected return of 20% and a maximum potential loss of 20%?
Keith, it depends on your objectives. It may be acceptable to some investors to take more risk to try to get more return, but it's never a good idea to make an investment with a given expected return when other investments are available with the same expected returns but less risky.
So in other words, if your cousin said he needed to borrow $100,000 to start a new restaurant, and this is his first restaurant, he doesn't have experience with restaurants, and he offered to pay you 8% interest, and it worked out, and you wound up a year later getting your money back plus 8% interest, that wouldn't have been as good of an investment as if you were able to buy an 8% CD for 1 year, right?
Well, there's just risk involved. It might not work out.
So even though two investments could have worked out the same, if one had more risk, it wasn't as desirable.
Correct.
And that's why a lot of people right now, they might have investments that are working out great, but they don't necessarily appreciate the risk that they're taking and what could happen during the next market downturn. There's something called the efficient frontier. It's a modern portfolio theory tool that shows investors the best possible return that they can expect from their portfolio, given the level of risk they're willing to accept. Higher risk portfolios should only be acceptable if they produce higher expected return. High risk portfolios that produce only average returns fall below what's called the efficient frontier, and they're considered suboptimal. Now, modern portfolio theory states that through diversification of several different kinds of asset classes that are not directly correlated to each other, the risk of a portfolio can be reduced without lowering expected returns. That means if you have one portfolio that has all stocks, right?
Okay.
And then another portfolio, maybe they have some bonds in it, some international stocks as opposed to all domestic stocks. They have some real estate. The studies have shown that you can get the same returns with a portfolio like that as an all-U.S. stock portfolio over long periods of time with less volatility and less risk. So that means that there are points on the efficient frontier where taking additional risk will not increase expected returns, and that investors can design portfolios to create optimal returns without necessarily maximizing risk. That's what we do when we create portfolios, correct, Darren?
Yes, that is exactly what we do.
Now, during times of favorable stock market performance, a lot of investors think everything's okay, right?
Of course.
What happens when someone walks into the office and they say, look, I'm up 15% this year? And are they going to be happy with their portfolio?
Yeah, of course they are. I would be.
Because why are they happy? Because they got a good return, right?
Correct.
But they're not necessarily factoring what's called the risk-adjusted return into the equation, right?
This is a mistake. because investors are unable to accurately predict when the next correction is going to occur.
Right. So it could be everything's great, and then the next time you're dissatisfied is when the market has a downturn and you lost 20%.
Yeah,
And now you're
absolutely.
behind. At this point now, it's too late to go back into time and say, oh, I'm going to make my portfolio less risky to avoid a big loss.
It'd be
Right?
nice to be able to do that, but no.
So you can't do that. There are vehicles that you can own that we can talk about later where you make money when the market goes up and you don't lose when the market goes down. But as far as a portfolio that's invested in equities, you can't go back in the rearview mirror and say, oh, it wasn't a good 6 months. I'd like to retroactively change my portfolio to account for that. Right?
Precisely, correct.
So just because your accounts have been going up doesn't mean you're taking the appropriate amount of risk. If you're taking too much risk, you may not realize it until it's too late. One of the ways to determine what your risk tolerance is to go to our website on the front page, and you can go to something called Riskalyze. It's determine your risk tolerance. You click that button. It takes 2 minutes. It'll ask you a few questions, and it'll show you the number between 0 and 100, what your risk is. It's a very valuable tool because then with that number, we can compare it to the actual risk of your portfolio and make sure you're not taking more than you can handle.
It's important, Keith, to take only the amount of risk that you can tolerate for a couple of reasons. One, you don't ever lose more money than you can handle without it adversely affecting your lifestyle. Studies have shown that investors tend to underperform the stock market over long periods of time. A big reason why is they tend to get in and out of the market at exactly the wrong time. If your portfolio has too much volatility, you may be more likely to make a bad investment timing decision and get out at the worst possible time.
Everybody does that. Everyone has what's called recency bias. That's why these studies show that the average investor greatly underperforms the stock market. The famous Dalbar study says that in the last 20 years, ended in 2016, when the S&P 500 averaged 11% per year, the average equity fund investor only averaged 3.6%. And it's precisely for the reason you're talking about. I know, look at Bitcoin, for instance. It's going up, right?
Right. Insanely.
My wife wanted to open an account when Bitcoin was at 9,800, and she didn't get around to it. And then it went up to 10,400, and she starts getting very anxious. You know, I really should have bought it. I got to hurry up and buy it because before I miss out on future gains.
Right.
Instead of thinking, well, maybe it already went up. So that's what people tend to think. If things keep going up, they assume that they're going to always go up, and they get in at the high. And if things go down, then they think like maybe they're going to keep going down, and they get out at a low instead of riding out the ups and downs to get the returns of the market. And that's what the studies show, where the S&P 500 averaged 11% a year for the last 20 years. That was point A to point B over 20 years. Most investors don't invest for point A to point B over 20 years, right?
Majority of investors do not do that.
So that's why if you're going to invest, you need to be disciplined. And you need to, like we said, determine your risk and then perhaps reduce your risk. It's important to have low volatility in your portfolio so that you don't make the mistakes that most investors make. You're less likely to make those mistakes if there's not big swings in your portfolio. Make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. You mentioned about reducing volatility, diversification of non-correlated assets, bonds, real estate, stocks, commodities, and international may not be correlated, which is a good way to reduce the volatility, Keith.
Exactly. Now think about it like this. Let's say the stock market made 12% a year, right?
Okay.
And every month it just automatically made 1% per month.
That would be nice.
Nobody would underperform, right?
Never.
They would know exactly what they were making. They would get exactly what the stock market was paying, and you wouldn't have to worry about mismanaging, because you know that there would never be a reason to buy extra. There would never be a reason to get out.
Unfortunately, that's not reality.
Right, but the closer we can make your portfolio to that scenario, the easier it is for you to successfully invest.
Agreed.
If you're riding a horse and you need to ride it across the country and you need to get somewhere, right?
Okay.
This is my metaphor. You have two choices. You have a really fast horse that rides violently, or you have a horse that trots nice and easy. Which one's going to get you across the country faster? Well, you might think that the one that goes the fastest is going to get you there, right?
Yeah, it's just going to be a violent way to get there.
But if it throws you off and you don't end up getting there because you got thrown off the horse, in retrospect, the nice and easy, steady horse, you're more likely to get where you want to go, right?
Makes sense.
And that's like portfolios. If you can get a portfolio with less volatility, you're more likely to get where you want to go. Now, we want to stay on the efficient frontier. One of our responsibilities as a certified financial planner is to assist our clients with portfolio design that is not only consistent with their risk tolerance, but it's also on the efficient frontier in terms of a risk-reward relationship. In other words, we assist clients in the maximization of expected returns relative to the risk they're willing to take. So if you tell us you don't want to take any risk, we have to come up with things that have no risk. Luckily, we have some strategies where you can make 5 or 6% without stock market risk. If you tell us you're prepared to take risk, then we can invest in equities and hopefully make 10, 11% like the historical averages of the major market indexes.
Makes sense.
Now, what do we do for clients that are risk averse, Darren?
For clients that are risk adverse, several highly rated insurance companies are currently offering modified endowment contracts, your favorite, and index annuities that offer the opportunity for attractive expected returns without investment risk and only relatively low credit risk from the issuing insurers. These have become viable supplements or even alternatives to traditional stock or bond portfolios for risk-averse investors.
So clearly, anytime you own an insurance product, it's subject to the claims-paying ability of the insurance company, but we consider that to be a relatively low risk if you use highly rated insurance companies, and we are able to help our clients sleep well at night, get decent returns, in many cases without any risk of investment loss whatsoever, without any interest rate risk as well. So if you want to reach us to review your portfolio, to help you make sure that you're maximizing the returns given the level of risk that you're willing to take, that you're not taking too much risk, that you're not paying too much fees, that you have a good plan in place that you can live with and sleep well at night, call us at 866-WEALTHY, and we'll be glad to speak with you, either make an appointment or answer your questions over the phone. If you want some information about our company, you can also go to singerwealth.com, www.singerwealth.com. But we prefer to talk to you. Give us a call today at 866-WEALTHY. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages. Hi, this is certified financial planner Keith Singer of Singer Wealth Management. We help our clients make the smartest possible choices when it comes to the management of their financial assets. Whether your goal is to generate ample lifetime income, prudently grow your wealth, or efficiently leave a legacy for your family, my firm Singer Wealth Management is here to assist you. If you're very confident you're making all the right decisions, and you're very well educated in all the latest financial and tax strategies, I commend you for your competence in these complicated areas of planning. However, if you're smart enough to realize that you don't know what you don't know, and you want another pair of experienced eyes to review your situation, potentially spot issues you weren't aware of, or if you want the advice and counsel of a certified financial planner and a Florida attorney with 20 years of experience, call us today at Singer Wealth Management at 866-WEALTHY. I'm looking forward to speaking with you and hopefully making your life better. Call me today at 866-WEALTHY.
Hey, it's Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. You're listening to Prosper with Keith Singer. Don't turn that radio off. We've got good info for you.
Hi, this is Keith Singer, attorney, certified financial planner, owner of Singer Wealth Management, serving Ocala, the Villages, and surrounding areas. I know a lot of you out there have some money, maybe a lot of money, that you don't want to lose, right? You ever meet anyone like that, Darren?
Always I meet people like that.
Most people have some money they don't want to lose. The question is, what can you do with money you don't want to lose, right? There historically have been bank accounts where you can put your money in. What's the problem with that?
You don't make any interest.
Right. And then there's index annuities, some of which can pay really good interest. One of the downsides, though, is that they're longer term, right?
Yeah, you have to lock in your money for a long period of time.
You know, you can take some out each year for free, but generally it's a longer term commitment in exchange for higher expected return with safety.
That
right?
is correct, yeah.
But what we have been able to do is specially design certain modified endowment contracts, which were created in 1988. Talk about that, when they were created, Darren.
As of June 21st, 1988, the federal government placed into effect TAMRA, which placed limits on the amount of money that one can put into a life insurance contract during the first 7 years of the policy's existence. Prior to 1988, a small life insurance contract could be funded with a huge sum of money, grow tax-deferred. A large portion of the cash could be accessed tax-free for withdrawals, and the value passed on to the next generation free of taxes. the small life insurance contracts had a small cost of insurance and could still accumulate tax-free. Tamara sought to end this tax loophole by limiting the amount of money dumped into a life insurance contract.
So these grow like deferred annuities and IRAs.
That is correct.
But unlike IRAs and annuities, they're tax-free at death.
Exactly.
So historically, these made interest based on interest rates. But there's been a couple new developments starting a few years ago where these have become very sexy as cash alternatives.
Let's talk about these developments.
Well, number one is companies have come out with no-load products where there's no upfront load. Okay? That means you don't take a big hit to your account. You have all the money there. As long as you own the contract, you can take it all out. And there's no back-end surrender charges on a lot of these. So we can design a contract where you can put all your money in, no load, take it out, no charge, and get all the interest that accumulates along the way.
No fees on the way in, no fees on the way out.
Correct.
Wow.
Very,
impressive.
very desirable. Now, it takes a lot more work for a financial advisor to put someone in something like this. You have to ask some medical questions, do some underwriting. It could take a month or two to get approved. But for the client, it's worth it because now they have what's called indexed modified endowment contracts. Even though we're in a low interest rate, we're not relying on interest based on what prevailing interest rates are.
We're relying on a certain index.
Yeah, we're relying on, for instance, the S&P 500 index or the European stock market index or the Dow Jones or the NASDAQ. And the way it works is you get up to 10.5% interest every time the stock market has a good year. But when it has a bad year, you get zero that year. Okay? And if you want your money back and you haven't averaged at least 2.5%, the insurance company pays you 2.5% interest.
So you're saying you can go up, potentially up 10%, 10.5% if the market goes up, but if the market goes down, you don't lose?
Correct.
That's fantastic.
Now, you might be thinking, well, if it's well and good that this may have averaged historically 7.5%, which is what it's averaged, this kind of crediting method over long periods of time. But the listener might be thinking, well, there's no guarantee that the stock market is going to have a good 10 years the next 10 years, right?
Of course not.
It could be great, it could be average, it could be bad.
You can't tell, you can't predict it.
But here's the thing. If you look back, the lost decade, remember the lost decade, 2000 to 2010?
Yes,
where the
of course.
stock market really wasn't up for the decade? Why was that? Why was the decade so bad?
Oh, the market was just horrendous. It was a global catastrophe that was going on with real estate.
So in 2008, we had a really bad year.
Absolutely, it was bad.
Also, we ran into the tech crash in the beginning of the decade, right? So we had two really big down periods during the decade, which basically made us not make any money for the decade.
But the index was flat for the 10-year period.
Right. In fact, the last 16 years from 2000 to the end of 2016, because of those bad years, the S&P 500 averaged only 4.5%. Okay?
Okay.
But if you had an 11.5% cap over the last 16 years and a zero floor, you would have made 6.07. Okay? So even though the stock market only made 4.5%, you could have made over 6% because you had no down years, right?
Right.
The S&P has down years. This product doesn't have down years.
So you're not participating in the down years and waiting for the recovery.
So in a really bad decade, how many down years is there going to be?
I'd say maybe 3, 4 at most.
Yeah, exactly. And that means in a really bad decade, you're going to have 6 up years. You could make over 60% in a bad decade. And if you had 8 up years, you could make 80% or more in a good decade.
Which is remarkable.
So the range of return is really about 6 to 8%. Okay?
Which is still very attractive.
So even in a bad decade, you'll get closer to 6. In a good decade, you'll get closer to 8. That's the range of returns. It doesn't matter if you think the stock market is going to be good or not. Now, over the next 10 years, if every year is up a lot in the stock market, you probably would have been better off being in the S&P 500, right?
Right.
But if we have a few bad years, this could do better than the S&P 500. And we're not talking about money that was going to be in stocks. We're talking about money that was going to be on the sidelines. Or we're talking about money that was going to be in bonds. So this is a phenomenal strategy if you want to safely grow your money, if you want security, if you want to get good, solid growth without tying up your money. And that's what's really the game changer is 2 things. One is no upfront loads or back-end surrender charges. And 2, the ability to link your returns to the S&P 500 with what's called an annual reset. Another example, let's say the S&P 500 is at 2,500
Okay.
And you say, all right, I'm going to put in $100,000. And the year closes, a bad year, it's down to $2,000, right?
Okay, so you lost 500 on the index.
But you didn't lose in your account. You just lost on the index, right?
Okay.
If you own the index, you'd be down 20%.
That's correct.
Now, the next year, it goes up 10% to 2,200. So you made the full 10% that year, even though the index value is still below where you started.
I see.
Because every year is its own entity, right?
So it starts fresh, anew every single year.
Exactly. If we have a big year and you actually make money, you're going to lock that in. So if the market does go down from 2,500 to 2,000 and you're invested in the stock market itself, not in a product like this, where does the index have to go just for you to break even? It's got to go back to 2,500, right?
Right.
So with this product, it starts over every year, and a big year that's down doesn't hurt you. It might even help you.
I think you mentioned something really important, is that it'll lock in the gains.
Exactly. So every year is its own entity, right? You have a big year, you made money, that gets locked in. Next year, you lose, the index goes down, you don't go backwards.
You don't lose those locked-in gains.
Right.
Wow, impressive.
So that's what's annual reset. We really, really like that for our clients that are conservative, that want to grow their money. Now, there's also a death benefit, correct?
Yeah, there's a tremendous tax-free death benefit.
So why don't you discuss how that death benefit works?
Usually when you put your money in, you have to go through an underwriting process. Depending on your age, you can get maybe double or triple the amount of a death benefit. That money will, if God forbid you pass away, inevitably it's going to happen, will go to your beneficiaries tax-free. Also, that death benefit can be used while you're alive as a living benefit for long-term care needs, which is also tax-free.
Exactly. So when people come into our office, they usually say, I want to maximize my cash, right?
Right.
Sometimes we get into the conversation and they say, I'm probably not going to spend this, right? And it's just going to go to my kids. And then we say, well, would you like us to design it so that your kids get the most death benefit possible? And they say yes sometimes, right?
Right.
And sometimes they say, you know what, I like the cash, but I'm really concerned about long-term care. Why don't you talk about the ways we can design these contracts?
We can design these contracts a couple of different ways. We can design the contracts for maximum cash accumulation, where we keep death benefit to a minimum to increase growth and reduce the costs. We can maximize long-term care benefits by designing the contract with extra long-term care. This reduces the growth potential. We can also design the contract to maximize the death benefit. Designing it with a higher death benefit also grows a little bit less, but provides a very reasonably sized death benefit.
So in other words, if you aren't looking to spend the money and it's all going to go to your heirs, we can make the amount that goes to your heirs even greater on a tax-free basis. Conversely, if you just want more financial security for yourself, and it's nice to leave your heirs a tax-free death benefit, but you're looking more for the growth of the account value, we can design it that way. However you want to design it, we have a lot of expertise. We know what we're doing when it comes to this type of planning. Definitely call us at 866-WEALTHY. So what are some of the possible uses and applications of this type of contract?
Keith, number one, as a proxy to conservative holdings that you may need to use in the future. For instance, I have a college fund for my kids. My daughter is starting college next year, say. I can't risk that being in the market if I need the money in the next 2 to 4 years. So I own a modified endowment contract with some of my child's college money. Higher taxes may apply to the gains depending on your age. 2, as a tax-efficient wealth transfer. If you have money that you don't think you're going to spend, what are your options? You have bank deposits, savings accounts, money markets, bonds, stocks, real estate. Modified endowment contracts can give tax-free leverage at death. And 3, as a way to fund long-term care needs, some modified endowment contracts provide an additional pool of tax-free funds for long-term care. Like we talked about earlier, the death benefit is eligible to be used while you're alive for long-term care needs.
What's interesting is that I was analyzing the risk reward of this. If you look at the S&P 500, the last 10 years,
right,
it averaged a little over 7%. but it had a standard deviation of 18, plus or minus 18, which is a measure of risk. It had a maximum drawdown of over 50%.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Which means you lost half your money at one point.
Yeah.
Where this modified endowment contract, you would have averaged after fees and costs between 5 and 6%, almost as much as the S&P 500.
Right.
With a standard deviation of 4.5 versus 18, and a maximum drawdown of 0.
Wow.
You had no losses.
That
right?
is more like
So
it.
the risk-adjusted return of this is phenomenal. It's probably the most attractive insurance product I've seen in over 20 years. If you want to learn about it, call us for a free report or to ask questions. Call us at 866-WEALTHY, or you can go to our website at singerwealth.com. We're looking forward to hearing from you and making your life better and educating you on strategies that you're not an expert in, that we have expertise that we can share with you to help you make the smartest possible choices. Call us at 866-WEALTHY. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages. Hi, this is certified financial planner Keith Singer of Singer Wealth Management. We help our clients make the smartest possible choices when it comes to the management of their financial assets. Whether your goal is to generate ample lifetime income, prudently grow your wealth, or efficiently leave a legacy for your family, my firm Singer Wealth Management is here to assist you. If you're very confident you're making all the right decisions, and you're very well educated in all the latest financial and tax strategies, I commend you for your competence in these complicated areas of planning. However, if you're smart enough to realize that you don't know what you don't know, and you want another pair of experienced eyes to review your situation, potentially spot issues you weren't aware of, or if you want the advice and counsel of a certified financial planner and a Florida attorney with 20 years of experience, call us today at Singer Wealth Management at 866-WEALTHY. I'm looking forward to speaking with you and hopefully making your life better. Call me today at 866-WEALTHY.
Hi, this is Larry King, and you're listening to Prosper with Keith Singer.
Hi, this is Keith Singer, attorney, certified financial planner, owner of Singer Wealth Management, serving Ocala, the villages, and surrounding areas. Please call us if you have any questions at all at 866-WEALTHY. Now, let's talk about income. It would be nice if we could earn 6% per year in the bank, or if we could buy AAA municipal bonds and earn 6% tax-free. But unfortunately, we can't in today's low interest rate environment. The notion that interest rates will remain relatively low for a foreseeable future seems to be gaining acceptance. The more conferences I go to, the more analysts I hear saying, interest rates aren't about to shoot up anytime soon. I think this could be the new normal. Obviously, they're talking about raising interest rates if the economy heats up too much. But even if that happens, I don't see it having a dramatic increase. Now, the following investments could, however, be of interest to those of you who are looking for yield. Why don't we discuss, Darren, some of the alternatives that are available to investors out there that are looking for income?
Sounds good, Keith. One of them are high-yield bonds, which have a lower credit rating than investment-grade bonds, but they pay higher interest than investment-grade bonds. Another one is preferred stocks. They typically pay a fixed dividend, which is often significantly higher than that of common shares. Preferred stock also ranks senior to common shares in case of a corporate bankruptcy. For those concerned with potential rising interest rates, some fixed to float preferred stocks have dividends that increase if interest rates increase.
There's some preferred stocks out there that we really like that are short-term in nature, 4 to 5 years, where instead of them trading on the secondary market and being subject to the whims of the stock market, they are basically redeemed back to the issuer, the company that issues them, in either 4 or 5 years. And so it's redeemed back at a set price, so you don't have to worry about stock market fluctuation. And you can make, in some cases, over 6% interest without tons of risk. So there are some interesting preferred stocks out there. If anyone is curious about that and wants information, call us at 866-WEALTHY. There are also REITs. REITs stand for Real Estate Investment Trust, which invest in real estate through property or mortgages. REITs must pay dividends at least 90% to shareholders, providing a combination of portfolio diversification and consistent yields. Some REITs are publicly traded, like stocks. Others are private and are not publicly traded. The two kinds are unique and carry different benefits and risk profiles. I kind of like the interval fund REITs, the REITs that you redeem back to the issuer, because your value in that case is based on the appraised value of the real estate. In publicly traded REITs, your value is not based on the appraised value of the real estate. In fact, I've seen publicly traded REITs trading at a discount to the value of the real estate that's in there. That happens all the time, right?
And that's just because the whims, like you said, of the market moving up and down?
Yeah, sometimes the market foresees the economy isn't going to do well, so all of a sudden everything goes down, right?
Right.
Everyone who owns a house, they know what it's worth, right? No one's ever looked online or in the paper and saw, oh, my house is down 10% this week.
No,
right?
never see
Because
that.
real estate prices don't move like that. So in interval fund REITs or private REITs, if you can redeem when you want to sell, if you sell it back to the issuing company at the value of the real estate, it's much more stable, sort of like actual real estate.
Right.
And you get the benefits of owning real estate. A lot of the income can be deferred from taxes because of the depreciation that flows through to the ownership. So if you have an interest to get more income and you're looking for exposure to real estate, we have some ideas that are very interesting that could maybe benefit you and add stability to your portfolio and increase the income that you're getting.
Keith, there are a couple types of REITs. For example, discuss a mortgage REIT.
Well, mortgage REITs is essentially REITs that lend money for mortgages to owners of real estate or purchase existing mortgages or mortgage-backed securities. The revenues are generated primarily by interest that they earn on the mortgage loans. These REITs make loans secured by real estate, but do not generally own or operate real estate. So it's generally viewed as safer to be a lender than an investor, right?
Makes sense.
If I lend you money to buy your house for $100,000 and I lend you $70,000 and you wind up selling your house at a loss for $85,000, I still get all my money back, right?
Right.
So your loss in value of real estate as the investor, as the owner, doesn't affect my loan to you because it's secured by the real estate. So you get the owner and the investor of the equity of the real estate, they get the profits, they get the losses. The lender just gets their interest.
I see.
Okay, so there's also mortgage REITs out there that work the same way, where you redeem back to the issuer, and it's not necessarily subject to the whims of the stock market. A lot of the mortgage REITs have access to capital at very low rates, 2 or 3%, and they're making loans that are variable loans based on LIBOR at 6 or 7%. So when you invest in those types of REITs, you're actually getting leverage, and there's REITs out there that are paying over 7% interest to investors, obviously subject to, the risks of lending on real estate.
Right.
But they're able to provide pretty attractive yields for people that are looking for yields. So if you're looking for yields and you want to be a lender, not an investor, also call us about that at 866-WEALTHY. There's also international real estate funds which provide exposure to publicly traded real estate securities in developed and emerging foreign markets, further diversifying portfolios if you're looking for diversification. I think the key is that if you're looking to invest in income-producing assets, what you can't do is over-concentrate, right?
Right. You can never do that.
For instance, while we're on that subject of over-concentration, talk about MLPs.
Master limited partnerships are typically related to the processing and transportation of oil and gas, and they tend to produce steady cash flows during times of stable or rising oil prices. Although MLPs can be a source of steady income, they possess their own industry-specific risk factors. After a large fall, oil prices appear to have stabilized.
Right, so they do look much more stable. There was a time where they had peaked a few years ago at, I think, $157 a barrel.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember that time. It was pretty painful because it dropped pretty severely down to almost $30 a barrel.
So before that drop, though, oil had been doing so well, MLPs had been doing so well.
Yeah.
And they were a steady source of income. They were paying very, very rich yields. People were over-concentrating on them because they had done so well for so long. They appeared to be very stable, but they had done well for so long because oil prices had been rising or stable.
Correct.
And when oil prices plummeted, a lot of people who were over-concentrated to that asset class took a bath, and they lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so the lesson from that is it's good to have potential high sources of income, but you don't want to put too much of your assets in one asset class because you never know which one's going to be the bad apple, right? So that's another asset class. There's also something called bank loans, which are comprised of debt from companies with potential sub-investment grade ratings. typically secured with a lien on the company's assets. They typically rank senior to other company debt, resulting in less risk with moderate yields. So in other words, you can lend money to companies, but it's secured by their assets. So even if they go out of business, you are secured. Another type of strategy that's similar is called BDCs. Talk about BDCs.
Keith, BDC stands for Business Development Company, which invests in developing companies through debt and possibly equity exposure. BDCs are regulated and must distribute at least 90% of profits to shareholders, often resulting in above average dividend yields. The income that is generated by interest payments is subject to the borrower's ability to repay the loans.
Okay, so that could be a good income strategy. Again, where you're lending money to companies that are not necessarily public companies, but you're secured by their inventory, by their assets. So even if they have financial trouble, the loan is secured by assets. And those also can pay a pretty attractive yield.
Yes.
Another strategy that can create income is covered calls. This is a strategy that creates income via selling call options against shares of currently owned stock. The sale of these options provide investors with yield via the premiums paid for the options. This strategy works best when the underlying stock is either stable or appreciating. If the underlying stock goes down, the investor could lose money. So if you buy a stock for $50 a share and you sell an option to sell that stock for $51, if the stock goes up, then you wind up selling the stock for $51 plus you made money on the option.
Okay.
If the stock stays the same, you wind up keeping your stock and your option expires worthless and you made money on the option. If the stock goes down, you made money on the option, but now your stock value went down. So in a rising or stable market, those work well. If markets are falling, that'll help offset the losses because you're getting income, but it's not without risk. And diversification is very important. Again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like we mentioned, a lot of investors were overweighted to MLPs when oil was high. When it dropped to under $30 a barrel, they lost a lot of money if they were over-concentrated. Also, if your investments are all very interest rate sensitive, you're potentially taking too much interest rate risk. One way to reduce interest rate risk is to incorporate income investments that are either short-term if the interest rate is fixed, or invest in income strategies that will provide increasing interest payments if interest rates rise. In any case, you should probably not put more than 5 to 10% of your investments in any one type of alternative income strategies like these. We actually have a portfolio called the Alternative Income Portfolio, where we have about 20 different types of income producing assets. We put them all together in one portfolio to try to reduce the risk. If we ran our portfolio on Riskalyze, it's about a 42 from a scale of 1 to 100. So it's moderate to lower risk. And the yield is over 6%. And it's something that if you're looking for yield, we manage money like this for clients at Charles Schwab. And we can certainly do that for you in your trust, in your name, in your joint name, or in your IRA. Just give us a call at 866-WEALTHY. It's hard to find good yield, right, Darren?
It's very difficult in this environment.
That's one of the reasons why we created this portfolio, so that we can try to get people more yield, but still not overexpose them to any one asset class. Try to mitigate their interest rate risk,
right,
their credit risk, through diversification, through smart investments that automatically on their own mitigate interest rate risk and credit risk. And that's what we're offering to clients that are looking for yield and income. Obviously, there's a lot of ways to generate money. One is through actually earning interest on different investments. The other is through growth or other types of guaranteed income payments. But if you're interested in a portfolio that produces a yield that has good diversification of 20 different types of income and producing investments, call us today at 866-WEALTHY or go to our website at singerwealth.com. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages. Hi, this is Certified Financial Planner Keith Singer of Singer Wealth Management. We help our clients make the smartest possible choices when it comes to the management of their financial assets. Whether your goal is to generate ample lifetime income, prudently grow your wealth, or efficiently leave a legacy for your family, my firm Singer Wealth Management is here to assist you. If you're very confident you're making all the right decisions, and you're very well educated in all the latest financial and tax strategies, I commend you for your competence in these complicated areas of planning. However, if you're smart enough to realize that you don't know what you don't know, and you want another pair of experienced eyes to review your situation, potentially spot issues you weren't aware of, or if you want the advice and counsel of a certified financial planner, and a Florida attorney with 20 years of experience. Call us today at Singer Wealth Management at 866-WEALTHY. I'm looking forward to speaking with you and hopefully making your life better. Call me today at 866-WEALTHY.
Hi, this is Alan Dershowitz, and you're listening to Prosper with Keith Singer.
Okay, we are back. Darren, let's talk about annuities. According to the Insured Retirement Institute, for each of the last 2 years, investors looking to avoid stock market risk have put over $200 billion into index annuities. While these products are guaranteed to protect investors' principal by the insurance company that issues them, the different offerings may vary significantly from product to product in terms of growth potential. Unfortunately, many insurance agents do not accurately depict how the products work. I have a list of areas I feel advisors need to do a better job of explaining.
Keith, I often hear insurance agents claim that unlike the expensive variable annuities and mutual funds, index annuities have no fees. This is a misleading statement. Insurance companies make money selling index annuities and variable annuities. With variable annuities, the fees are disclosed and transparent. With index annuities, the fees are priced into the crediting method. For instance, if you have an annuity that has a 5% cap and the index goes up 10%, you only make 5%. If the insurance company did not have expenses and a profit margin they were attempting to obtain, that cap would be a lot higher.
Another thing that bothers me is that I often hear insurance agents, typically the ones who aren't licensed to sell investments like variable annuities, say something like, variable annuities are horrendous. Never, ever buy one. Now, you have to be very wary of general statements like that. There have been times in the past that variable annuity offerings were much more attractive than they are today in terms of the benefits and the cost. But things always change. And you probably want to work with an advisor that's objective and willing to evaluate all the alternatives based on your specific goals and not operate under any preconceived biases. For instance, just last quarter, I went to a conference and there's a new variable annuity that was introduced that has actually pretty low fees and a really high guaranteed income benefit and a really interesting management strategy that's fairly conservative. And so when you compare that to some of the alternatives, it's very attractive. Now, if I had a closed mind and I said, if it's a variable annuity, I'm not going to do the due diligence even on it. I'm not even going to find out if it's good for my clients. That's probably not the advisor you want to work with. You don't want to work with someone who is going to preclude you from investing in something that turns out to be really good. Annuities are just contracts. You have to read the terms of the contracts. If you say variable annuities are bad, then contracts must be bad, right? Now, not all contracts are bad, right?
You can't generalize annuities because there's so many different types of annuities.
Exactly. So one of the nice things about index annuities is what?
You can participate in the market when it goes up, but not when it goes down. For index annuities and index modified endowment contracts, this is true, but not all products are created equal. If you want the highest rates of interest credited to your accounts, you need to understand which crediting methods are going to work the best.
Now, I can tell you something right now. There's no insurance companies that are offering a guaranteed return of 5, 6, or 7% on your money. It just isn't. It doesn't exist. There's nowhere for them to go to get returns that are guaranteed to them in order to guarantee you 5, 6, or 7%.
You can get expected returns, but not guaranteed.
Right. You can get some that are expected, but when you hear agents talking about 5, 6, or 7 guaranteed, they're not being completely upfront. I cringe when I hear people promise that, because if there were products that offered a guaranteed return on your money of 6 or 7%, we'd be talking about it, right?
No doubt.
There are currently no insurance companies offering high guaranteed returns on your money in a low interest rate environment. So what are you hearing then? Many products offer what's called an income rider. Sometimes it's included, sometimes there's an additional cost for it. But an income rider typically allows you to withdraw a certain amount of money from your account each year without fear of running out of income, even if you deplete your account, because the income is guaranteed for your life. Now, some companies give you, obviously, peace of mind when they offer that, but it's not giving you a guaranteed return of 5, 6, or 7%, because the amount of income value might increase by, let's say, 7% each year. That's not an increase on your account value. That's an increase on the amount of income you can take from your own money. So that's a distinction, because If I say to you, all right, give me 100,000 and you could take 5,000 a year out, right?
Right.
For life. And I go, if you wait 1 year, it's going to go up by 7%. So you can take 5,350 if you wait a year instead of 5,000. Did you make 7% on your money? No, you just are allowed to take an extra 350 a year out of your own money, knowing that if you deplete your principal, your income won't end, right? So there's never a time where you can cash out that income value. It's really a fictitious number used to calculate how much money you can spend from your own account value without running out. Now, some companies will allow your heirs to cash out that value if you die over a 5-year period. So that could be attractive if you're looking for a way to safely grow money for your heirs. But it's not a guaranteed return for you. Now, if you're under the impression that the annuity you own or considering owning is paying you a guaranteed return of 5 to 7%, then you're not understanding it, and I'd ask you to call me, and I'll show you exactly how your income rider works. By the way, I'm not a big proponent of taking an income rider on index annuities. Your insurance companies charge you roughly an extra 1% interest, and many people don't wind up using them, and those that do are only spending their own money, and very few of them are projected to live long enough to use up all their own money so that they can actually start receiving a benefit from the insurance company that's above and beyond their actual account value. If you purchase an annuity with an upfront bonus, is that free money, Darren?
No.
What is it then?
It's just a bonus. It's an illusion.
It's used to create the appearance of value, right?
Yes.
Why do they want to give the appearance of value?
They want to give the appearance of value to make you buy into the product. They want to sell these products to the public.
Right. They want to get you to invest with them, okay? The insurance company uses that as a way to get you to either switch out of an old annuity and put the money with them. And if someone tells you you're not paying a surrender charge because you get a bonus on the new product, you have to ask yourself, why are they giving me a bonus? Right?
Yeah, what does the insurance company get for giving you a bonus?
They just get you to put the money in. So the thing is that they either have to give you a value or the appearance of value. And it's much cheaper for them to give you the appearance of value than value. So I'm not saying there's never a product that has a good bonus, right?
Right.
What I'm saying is a lot of times the products that have the bonuses aren't as good as the products that don't have a bonus.
Okay.
Because if you don't have a bonus, the client's more likely, and the advisor, if they're looking out for the client, is more likely to scrutinize the actual returns you're going to be making on that contract.
Makes sense.
And at the end of the day, you want to make the most money as possible on your annuity over the full term, not just the first year, right?
Absolutely.
Anyone who says to you, oh, you make 10% bonus the first year, yada, yada, yada. Well, who cares what I make the first year? Do I get to cash it out after a year?
No.
So I care what I make over the term. It's like if I said I have 2 apartments, they're both $1,200 a month, but one of them has a free month's rent first month. Which one's better?
I can't say. You don't know. You don't know where the location is. You don't know what kind of condition it is. You don't know how old the place is. There's a lot of different variables that you need to understand.
So it might be that the one that's $1,000 a month is in a great location, is really desirable, and they don't need to offer a free month's rent, right?
Correct.
And the other one, the only way they can get someone to rent it is to give a free month's rent.
Incentivize you with a free month's rent, exactly.
So that's kind of the way it works with annuities. A bonus probably isn't in your best interest. From what I've seen, I'm not saying never. I never say never, but typically it's not. Okay, so the one exception to any type of guarantee on annuities is if you're looking for a death benefit. Okay? There are some annuities out there that offer up to a 7% annual death benefit.
Okay.
And so what that means is that, let's say you're not in great health and you can't get life insurance and you care about maximizing what your family gets by the time you pass away.
Right.
If you have a 7% minimum death benefit, that means that your money will grow for your heirs by a minimum of 7%. But you're also allowed to invest your account in the stock market through sub-accounts. So if the market does better, if we get lucky and you get the first couple of years, you made 10 or 15 or 20%, they get the higher of what the market made, or 7%. That sounds like a good deal, right?
Sounds like a great deal, but let me ask you something.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through an underwriting to get this death benefit?
If you're investing less than $1 million, they typically don't ask you any medical questions.
Okay. Wow.
If you are investing more than $1 million, they might ask you some medical questions if you have cancer or if you have any life-threatening diseases, because it's a big risk for them, really. If I was an insurance company, I would not do this without underwriting. I'd want to know, if I'm going to guarantee you a high death benefit, is there a chance you might die in the next year or two?
Yeah, you want to know.
Because if you might die in the next year or two, you might lose money before you die, and then we have to pay that back plus 7%.
That's exactly right.
Like, if we know you're going to live 20 years, your account probably will be a lot higher than it would be, even if the market has a correction, it'll come back.
Precisely.
But in a short life expectancy, you don't. So there's lots of strategies out there, whether they're variable annuities or index annuities. If you have any of these products, you want our opinion on them, you want us to review them, you want us to help you manage them or help you manage the rider to maximize the value of it, we have a lot of expertise in that area. Call us at 866-WEALTHY. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to ask us a question over the phone, or preferably meet with us face-to-face so that we can help you make the smartest possible choices, call us at 866-WEALTHY. We're looking forward to getting to know you. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
This is Mario Gabelli. You've been listening to Prosper with Keith Singer.
You have been listening to Prosper with Keith Singer. For the solution to your financial problems, call toll-free 1-866-WEALTHY. That's 1-866-WEALTHY. And tune in again at this same time for Prosper with Keith Singer.
Keith Singer is registered with and securities offered through Investacor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Singer Wealth Advisors, Singer Wealth Management, and Singer Wealth Advisors are not affiliated with Investacor. The opinions and recommendations contained in this broadcast are those of Keith Singer and Singer Wealth Management and not of Investacor. Past performance is not a guarantee of future performance. Upon liquidation, your investment may be worth more or less than its original cost. The investments discussed may be suitable for only some investors.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
The College of Central Florida is committed to being your first choice for quality higher education. CF has locations in Marion, Citrus, and Levy counties and offers more than 60 academic programs. Earn a certificate, associate, or bachelor's degree with Florida's 2+2 program. A student can complete an associate in arts at CF and be guaranteed admission to a state of Florida university. CF is ranked number 13 in the U.S. for affordability, is military-friendly, and offers a full student life experience. Make CF your first choice. Call 352-873-5800.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. We are located in the heart of downtown Ocala, right next to the historic Marion Theater. I'd like to invite you to stop by and see our new boutique area and meet our staff of professional stylists. Here at Hello Gorgeous, we are ready to update your look with the latest trends. And with summer here, it's the perfect time to brighten up your look. So make your appointment now for those highlights and Brazilian blowout. But don't stop there. We are a full-service salon offering manicures, pedicures, and facials also. So if you've been searching for a salon to call your own, come and see us at Hello Gorgeous Salon. We are located at 48 South Magnolia Avenue in downtown Ocala, right next to the Marion Theater. So call today and set up your appointment